Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Hello, Cody Callahan. Do you believe your movie The Oak Room, which is set entirely indoors, is actually the ultimate promotion for social distancing?
I don't know if I want to promote social distancing and get involved with all that, but I do think it's a funny time to have such an isolated film out, and the fact that you have to see it through social media and virtually. It's an interesting time to have a movie like this.
Yes. All right. On a more serious note, how long did it take you to write the script? And did you start writing drafts, or did you outline everything?
So the script was written by Peter Genoway.
Okay.
And it was actually adapted from a stage play that he wrote.
Aha.
So Ari Millen, who plays Michael in the film, he actually played Michael in the play back in 2013.
Oh, cool.
And I wasn't able to see the play because I wasn't in town at the time, but he kept telling me how great it would be to adapt it into a movie. And I sort of avoided the idea of adapting a play into a film because that seems to be quite a challenge. So basically, Ari bugged me for a few years, and basically, after a while, I finally did read it, and it jumped off the page. It was amazing, and basically from there, I started working with Peter Genoway, and yeah, it took us about a year and a bit to adapt it.
No kidding. And what would you say, since it was existing material, what was your twist?
Oh, like, so how did we, like, what changed from the play? So, I mean, obviously a play is driven by performances and dialogue, which again, The Oak Room is still, even though it's a film now, it's still driven by those two things. We added a few more scenes and sort of cutaways of who's approaching, and all of that stuff was all new. And then we just sort of tailored some of the dialogue to better suit a movie rather than on stage.
All right. So do you write your own scripts for other projects?
I
primarily directing. Is that your and production?
Sort of, yeah. Like I started as a production designer.
Oh.
And then from there I started producing some stuff for friends, and then, I mean, I always had the intention to direct. So obviously, like most directors, and the first project that they do, usually, you write it on your own because there's, nobody wants to work with you yet.
Right.
So I wrote a lot of the first stuff that I directed, but a lot of the time I'll write the story, and then I'll work with a writer to really push it into a script phase.
And when you write, are you more into just like pumping out drafts, or do you like to outline things?
I personally, of all the stuff that I've written, I usually kind of do it in stages. So I'll write like a 1-page pitch. Yeah. And then I usually bounce that off my creative business partner, Chad Archibald, and we'll sort of attack the idea. And if it survives that first phase, then we'll usually write between a 10 and 20-page treatment, which really sort of outlines all of the twists and turns. And then from there, we usually find a writer and start the scripting stage from there.
All right. Tell me about the prep for this particular project. Did you do extensive rehearsals with your actors, since there's such long dialogue sequences?
Yeah. So it was interesting. I flew to LA and met with RJ, and we sort of spent the day together chatting, but it's funny. All of the actors that I met with, we didn't do any rehearsals of the material in the script. We discussed and sort of chatted about like who the character is, where they came from, upbringing, backstory. Like for somebody like Peter Outerbridge, who plays Paul, the bartender in the main story, we chatted about like who he was in high school, when he bought the bar, did he work at the bar first? So we spent a lot of time discussing the character. And then on the day, thanks to Jeff Mahar, who's the director of photography, the set was completely lit so we could kind of shoot in a 360, and we just let the actors do their thing, and then we tweaked from there. But most of the rehearsals was based in backstory and not the content actually on script.
What other crime movies or even shows would you recommend for viewers to get into the headspace of the Oak Room?
I feel like one of the best examples maybe is Fargo.
Okay. The movie or the show?
The movie.
Yes.
I think the original film.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky because there's directors and stuff that I think are more influential to the project than actual films, like David Mamet and people like that, and even a bit of Quentin Tarantino and The Hateful Eight in a way. But I would say for sort of setting and tone, I'd say that Fargo is very similar.
Okay. That's cool. Good to know. All right. The movie is quite intense. There's always that threat of violence, like you mentioned, like in The Hateful Eight, without well, I don't want to spoil it, but it is emotionally, you're sort of on the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next. And I was wondering, as a director, what tone did you set on the set? Were you cracking jokes in between, or did you want to ratchet up some tension?
I mean, it was interesting because everybody was, so we built the sets. So we lived in studio for the whole shoot, except for obviously the exterior stuff. Mm-hmm. And the sets, one of the things we wanted to do with the production designer, Justin Rue, is we wanted to put roof, even though you barely see it, we wanted to put a roof on everything. So that when you stepped on set, there's like, you feel like you're in the bar and it's cold and you're part of it. And then something that I've never done before, but I guess tried it out on this and it worked so well, is we did really long takes. Like there was scenes with Peter Outerbridge and RJ Mitty that might have been 15-minute takes. Mm-hmm. So they had memorized their dialogue and they would just get into it. So it was funny because like in a lot of films, you're shooting a little bit and you're saying cut and you're discussing stuff and you shoot and cut and you're saying cut, 100 times in an hour or whatever, where right. What we were doing, they were living in the set as the character for these long takes. So by the time it was done, it's like there wasn't time to sort of kid around. It's like there would be this big take and it would sort of be this like exhale after. And then, everybody would stay silent because we would have to talk about the 15-minute take and the little changes that I wanted to make. And, luckily luckily the cast was just so incredible that we were able to shoot it that way. But the tone on set was like everybody was having a great time, but it was very serious. Like everybody kind of stayed in character. Because I think when you do long takes, you're not breaking character that often within the shooting time.
Noted. Who was your MVP on the crew?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I don't think I would ever make a movie without my business partner, Chad Archibald. He's I'm his backbone for when he's directing and he's mine. So he's always been there and he helped build some of the sets and, he shot some B unit stuff. And so he's kind of always been the MVP and I hope he'd say the same for me. Maybe not, but yeah, I would say it was such a labor of love from everybody. It's really hard to say like one person that held the whole thing together, because one day it was Jeff Mahar saving a scene with a great idea for a camera move. One day it would be Peter Outerbridge with suggestion of how to fix a scene, and RJ. So I don't know. I'd say every day had an MVP for sure. It was definitely a collaborative project.
That is the first time I've heard that answer. I've been asking this question for a while, and everybody always immediately says, "Oh, my DP," or "Oh, my AD." There's always one name that just pops to mind. So that's interesting. Tell me about your previous experience at the Fantasia International Film Festival. I saw that you had another film there, and of course, it's streaming digitally this year, Fantasia. I was just wondering if you could give your thoughts on the festival in general.
So it's so funny. I was just chatting with Chad this morning, and we just realized that this is our 10th premiere at Fantasia.
That's incredible.
Yeah, which is amazing. And to be honest, it's like I'm from. I grew up in a small town, but I've been in Toronto for the last 18, 19 years. Yeah. So this is home. But Fantasia always still feels like the hometown premiere. Oh, cool. And even when we do our screenings in Toronto, it is the hometown premiere, but there's just something about Fantasia that feels like home. And Mitch Davis and everybody there, it's just such an amazingly run festival, and the audience attend. Like, I know it's virtual now, but I mean, it's still the same people going to see this stuff, and just the audience and the vibe there it's my favorite festival that I've ever been to. So wow. Even though it's virtual, it's an honor to be back.
That's great. Wow, those are very nice words. Will this movie be coming out on Blu-ray, do you believe? And are you a fan of physical media still?
Oh yeah, like we have another company called Black Fawn Distribution that sort of lives in that world, and it's distribution by fans of film for fans of films, obviously. So like physical is still like it's something that you can collect, you can get it signed, you can put it up on a shelf. So I mean, I grew up in the age of blockbusters, so it's odd even now doing a festival virtually. Right. And I hope it ends up on a physical platform, but these days, so even with COVID and everything now, it's hard to tell what the future is for the business. But I really do hope that it ends up somehow on a physical.
Cody, thanks for your time. I really enjoyed this movie. It's very captivating and intense, which are things I enjoy in a movie. What's in store for you for the rest of the year before I let you go?
Well, we have. When we wrapped the Oak Room, I actually jumped onto set directing another movie called Vicious Fun, which is like the polar opposite. It's a horror comedy starring David Koechner from Anchorman. Oh, cool! And it's a wild and trippy ride, and we're just starting to submit to festivals, so we'll have some festival news coming up, hopefully in the next few months. But as Oak Room sort of tails off, I'll be jumping onto that, and that should be coming out sometime next year.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.